Righty, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that Wuthering Waves is back at it again with another end of version survey. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, version 2.8 is a lot shorter than we thought by about a week, just right before we enter 3.0, and this survey is arriving about 9 days before 3.0 launches. So why don't we go ahead, answer Yang Yang, and see what this one is going to be all about. Because I have some positives and some negatives to say about this patch, but after seeing what's in 3.0, it does appear that a lot of the worries that I might have had have already been answered. So why don't we go ahead and just take this down. I'll have the details for 3.0 open along the side, just so that we can reference what's actually in that patch, knowing that there's not really much of a point, right, to talk about what you didn't like in this one if it's already coming in the next one. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Oh, okay, I took the money without taking the survey, that's an unethical thing to do. So make sure you do answer, okay, if you're gonna take those 5,000 credits, bucko. All right, let's start this. Hit the next page. Let us know your age. Ooh, I wonder how Kuro feels about me putting a different answer in for this every single time. All right. So far, how would you rate your overall experience in Wuthering Waves 2.8 to the city set in Amber? New content includes the 2 new quests, Chrono Metropolis, new events, Stranger Things, and of course, Chisun Buling. I would say overall satisfied. I'm not gonna go ahead and say neutral. I'm not in the mindset that I like was 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 on the patch, or like 10 out of 10. Definitely not a 1 out of 10. More like a, yeah, probably like a 6, probably like a 6, 7, or 8 is where I would judge it as a whole. Yeah, I think Bully's a great character. I think Chisa's a piece of shit. I think Stranger Things, I haven't fully played it yet, but it does look pretty solid from what I've seen. There's some minor feedback, not minor, but major feedback for that one. But overall, I think overall satisfied is a good measure for it. Okay, based on your experience in the current version, how satisfied are you with the following? All right, story. I rated it a 5, 6 out of 10, so I'm gonna give it a solid neutral. Like I've already mentioned before, I had my own issues with the story, which were entirely related to pacing and the fact that I felt like I was just jumping around all over the place. And the overall plot of it wasn't the worst thing ever. It's just the way that we got there felt extremely convoluted and like not natural at all. Those are kind of the main complaints that I have of it. I don't think it was the worst thing ever, but I'm not going to go ahead and say it was a shining spotlight, especially in the 2.x arc. World exploration. I'm going to put neutral there as well. One of the big reasons for that is Honami City is the way that I'll describe it is it's a very, very nice prison. You can't really vertically go anywhere in there, and it's just like a very set path in every single sort of like instance domain that you're in within the city. It looks really, really good. It looks really, really, really nice, but I don't think it's what people expected. I think it's enough to even put somewhat dissatisfied. I don't think it's what people expected at all when they were thinking about like a city map. Kind of the opposite, if we're frankly going to be honest, because you can't like climb any of the skyscrapers, do any of the stuff. It's a bit of a disappointment there. Environment visuals though. That's where the actual map to me gets balanced out. Where, yes, the exploration was very disappointing compared to what we expected, knowing that the port city of Guizhou is in the game. But however, the environment visuals, the design, how it looks, the pink cherry blossom trees, the actual city itself, it looks fantastic. People just wish they could freely explore it. I think most people should actually be putting this. I hope most people put very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied for the actual exploration piece, because it was very, very, very weak in this version. However, environment visuals, like I said, it offsets it. It's a balanced experience. Music and sound effects. Yeah, I'll put very satisfied. I don't think there was anything particularly bad or particularly... I'm not going to say there wasn't anything on the music and sound effects side that drags it down. It wasn't like my personal taste in terms of like the full, like overall, like the music got like a little bit sentimental in certain parts for me, but I could see how people would like it. I think it's fine. It was unremarkable, but it also wasn't anything that like reduced or took away from the experience. So I'll just put very sad. Like if every other music was like this, I wouldn't be mad. All right. Based on your experience in the current version, how satisfied are you with the following? Combat. Okay, so combat-wise in this version, what I will say is I'll put overall satisfied because they've definitely amped it up. However, I'm going to say that their delivery of 3.0's TOA is still one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I don't understand why they balance the TOA around 3.0's new Toon Break mechanics, which are just going to add damage to every team. HP inflate every single enemy in the game because we're all getting Toon Break, but then Toon Break isn't out yet. So the TOA for the past, like, basically 5 days until the version launches, for 15 days, is way harder than it actually should be. And I guess the depth that's added isn't necessarily bad. I do enjoy having a more difficult TOA. It's just there should be either like an option for it. And it also kind of sucks knowing that if you're somebody that enjoyed a more difficult TOA, because there are some people out there, right, that actually liked how the HP went up and now that it's like harder and you really gotta sweat. It's just you don't have an option to choose right now. You don't. It's kind of like if you play right now, you get like the super max harder difficulty version of the TOA. And then when 3.0 launches, it kind of like disappears. I guess you can kind of just pretend Toon Break doesn't exist, but it kind of just artificially disappears. I think like that sort of just sweeping difficulty spike that goes up and then goes back down within 15 days is just a little, it seems mismanaged or miscommunicated because nobody knew anything about it. It's just, hey, all the TOA bosses now have 500k more HP. Okay, cool, but actually it's fine in 3.0. Just wait 10 days. That's kind of a bad player experience. I think it's kind of a bad player experience. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Resonator visuals. I'm a little disappointed by Chisa, but I'm very happy with Booling. I think I'll put overall satisfied. I am blown away by how good Booling's animations and kit, like, just the quality of Booling as a whole. I'm blown away by it for a 4-star unit. It's just, Chisa to me is a little boring. Yeah, I think Booling has better animations than her. Yeah, Booling has better visual effects than her. I feel it feels more exciting playing Booling than Chisa. It is what it is. Resonator building. Resonator building. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say Resonator building in this version is bad, but this is what I'll say for Resonator building. I'm going to say that I like it. And the reason for me liking it is very, very, very simple, ladies and gentlemen. That's because in 3.0, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have Lene and we're also going to have Mornier. And one of the really, really cool things that I've seen the developers do that I don't think I've ever seen a gacha developer do is make the newest character pre-farmable when there's like a version gap in between them. For example, I'm gonna rate Resonator building a very satisfied for one simple reason. She uses Dreamless boss mats, right? And the fact that she's using Dreamless boss mats to me is just a player-friendly thing. She didn't need to, right? They all could have used the new weekly boss mats and then Kuro could have had the package in the store to give all the new ones. That would have incentivized more profitability. But instead, you can just, like, literally, bro, you can just go ahead and farm Dreamless right now and be ready to go. That, to me, is enough to rate it a very satisfied. I know it's not technically 2.8 content, but I'm not... 2.8 characters weren't hard to build. They were easy as fuck to build. Building just uses, you know, your Verena set. Yeah. The weapon mats are new, though. I guess that's fair. I guess the weapon mats are new, but this is the main thing that I'll say. The weapon mats, I guess, do appear new. But this is also the other thing, guys. Guess what isn't constrained by 3 weekly challenges? Your weapon mats. So if you have any gold squares, you know, the gold cubes for stamina, which you should have, I don't even think that's that big of a deal. And you can also convert. I think it's fair that in a new version they release them. And this is also the other thing that I'll say. Kuro shits so many gold mats, like, down our throats. Shits so many of those gold mat boxes in every single event. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I do forgery challenges, like, once every 2 patches with how many we end up getting. So, yeah. As long as the rate of those keeps up, I'm personally feeling we're not gonna have any issues at all, even with new weapon mats. Because I haven't had an issue with the current weapon mats, because we get so many free ones. So yeah, I'm still gonna put very satisfied. Performance optimizations. I mean, my game runs fine. So hey, I don't really know for anybody else, but my game's been running pretty good. All right. Based on your experience in the current version, how satisfied are you with the following? Co-op. What are we talking about here? There's no co-op there hasn't been co-op in the game in like in like 3/4 of a year. Why even put this on the survey? UI design, I'll say very satisfied. I think the Stranger Things and Honami event, which is the really only real new UI, and the Lolo thing, they both look great. Yeah, actually everything looked great in this version. Events and challenges, I'll put overall satisfied simply due to the fact that the Stranger Things and Honami thing is the exploration, and the exploration part of the event is completely fucking cooked, right? For the reasons that we said before, you like can't really go anywhere. It's very boxed in. It feels like a prison. Other than that, the design of the event is good. What do you think about the amount of playable content in version 2.8 to the city set in Amber? I think it's limited content. And the reason why is, I'll say it like this. I think every version should have a blend. And I said this at the start of 2.8. I think every version should have a blend of content for everybody. Where I don't think this version actually had enough mini games for the casual crowd. I'm not saying every version needs to have multiple mini games, but a balance of combat events plus mini games is my ideal patch. Something for everybody. Not just like, you know, flip-flopping between one patch, hey, combat enjoyers will like this patch, and then, hey, we're gonna have no combat events for 3 patches in a row. Just balance, right? And unfortunately, balance is something we haven't had in this game's events since version 2.4. However, version 3.0 looks like it's gonna be way more balanced. So, in a sense, right, a lot of the concerns that I've had about the playtime in this patch have already been answered by what we're seeing in 3.0. So it looks, 3.0 already looks a lot better. And this is why I said I was going to mention the stuff that was already happening in 3.0 during this review, because some of the concerns, right, have already been answered. I'm just hoping that a structure and a design, again, where we got events and content for everybody, is just the baseline moving forward and not what we had in the latter half of 2025. Because I think most, if not everybody who's seen the track record of events that we've had, what the fuck happened after 2.4? I think everybody can look back after 2.4 and just be like, what was like actually happening? What was the thought process behind the schedule? Just hope it never happens again. Next up, how satisfied are you with mute when game is in the background? I guess it's good for people. It's just a tab that you can turn on and turn off. I'm sure it works just fine. Is it like bugged or something? I'll just say I haven't used it yet. It's useless to me. How satisfied are you with auto supplement? Very satisfied. Yeah, it's good. This is the one that just automatically, like, you know, redeems your stuff from like boxes and does conversions. Great. How satisfied are you with the main Echo recommendation? I'm not stupid, so I don't use it, but actually I'll put very dissatisfied because it's taking away from my guide views. Okay. Why is main Echo recommendation not satisfactory? Okay, I'll say this as the main one. There are some characters where the suboptimal option is shown, and that can conflict with community opinions and cause drama. Yeah, I'll just say that. Yeah, yeah. Guys, I'm just thinking back to the time that their guide depot was telling you to use a fucking 4-cost ER Echo, which doesn't exist. There are no 4-cost ER Echoes. Yeah, like, it's shit like that. Just like how it tells you to use Gusts of Welkin on Arrow Rover. Gusts of Welkin. Arrow Rover cannot activate Gusts of Welkin unless he has some specialized teammates. Arrow Rover's actually supposed to use Windward Pilgrimage, but to this day, Gusts of Welkin gets recommended. They can't even trigger it. How satisfied are you with the recurring challenges interface? I think it looks fine. I think it looks good. It's like nice, sleek, futuristic. Some could say sexy. I'm not gonna go that far though. All right. How satisfied are you with version 2.8's text quality? I think they might be referring to the translation. This is what I'll say for the text quality. I think this is my take on the senpai shit. I thought I was just like Rover. I thought that shit was cringe as hell. I thought that shit was cringe as hell, bro. And this is the take over here. That doesn't matter. My opinion on the dialogue and how cringy it is doesn't matter. Because this is the thing. If you thought it wasn't cringy, that's a fact. If I thought it was cringy, that's also a fact. And it's fine for us to disagree over here. But you want to know how you know that I'm right? I'm truly correct? It's because Rover themselves in the 2.8 story asked Chisa, can you stop fucking calling me senpai? Can you, like, stop it, bro? Like, that shit's weird. The Rover themselves says that shit is cringe as well. So, that's why I'm putting that in there. Why is version 2.8's text quality not satisfactory? Incongruity between a character's personality and speech. Tone, word choice, use of honorifics. Brother man, the senpai situation has made it to the survey. The senpai situation has made it to the survey. I just think it was cringe. Senpai usage was so cringe. Even the rover asks Chisa to stop calling them senpai. That's what I'm saying, bro. You might have liked it. I thought that shit was cringe AF, bro. I'm not Japanese. Too many typos? I didn't notice any typos. Obscure vocabulary, inappropriate register, inconsistent use of terminology specific to the game. Nah, discrepancies between descriptions and actual gameplay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Awkward line breaks. Teleportation. Constantly in 2.8 quest. Rover finds Chisa on a bench at the end of the story, at the end of part 1, even though they were always together the entire time. Rover, Chisa, and Namipan also teleport to the tower after struggling for two hours in-game to find it. Yeah, discrepancies between descriptions and actual gameplay. Not enough gameplay during the quest. It's just a bunch of dialogue and teleportation. Grammatical errors? I don't think so. Linguistic styles? No, I like the JP stuff. Like the JP accents. Awkward phrasing? Literal translations? Made up words? No. Text extends? No. Too many outdated, obscure, or confusing references? I think there wasn't enough memes, to be honest. Unnatural sounding language. Stilted translations. What I'll say is that Chisa pronouncing Namipan so distinctively differently from everyone else got jarring after a while. Sounds Asian. I get that, right? But at a certain point, it's kind of just like, could everyone pronounce it the same way? Or is it like, is only one person gonna use the traditional Japanese pronunciation? I guess the thing is, to me, it's like, it seems like it's like putting half your body in the pool when you should just like get in. That's my take. And I guess it's like, I can get why she had the accent as well, but it's also like, I guess, why is everyone else calling them just Nami-Pon? Why isn't everyone else calling them Nami-Pon? But that's what I'll say. It just got jarring after a while because the way that she says it is so much more distinct than everybody else. Which part of 2.8's text did you not find satisfactory? Story text. I mean, let's just be real here. It's mostly Chisa's dialogue. Mostly Chisa's dialogue. Again, it's just the main thing is, it's just like, there's a little bit of jarriness and it's a little bit, the senpai's a little bit cringe. That's it. Those are the main complaints. Then we have like all like the story stuff where you're like going around and stuff. Culture, faction, organization, local custom names and descriptions. No, not really. Resonator skill names, no. Emails, no. Items, dishes, notices, no. Puzzles, quests, guidance, no. I didn't have an issue with any of these other things. It's just, I thought this, again, all I want to say is that the senpai was a little bit cringe. I didn't like it that much. That's it. I'm good. That's it. I've already listed out everything. Based on your experience in the game so far, do you have any additional feedback or suggestions? It seems like the feedback for this one was pretty much entirely just based off the story. And so what I'm beginning to derive from this is that Kuro probably got way more negative feedback about 2.8 than everybody thought. That's what I have to assume. There were actually a lot of complaints about 2.8's story. This is pretty much a fact that there were a lot of complaints about the 2.8 story because my entire fucking survey was like just about the story. And I've never gotten a survey. I don't think there's ever been a survey in the history of the game this focused about the story and text quality and all of that. Never. I think you can actually look through the catalog. I think you can look through the catalog of all the surveys that we've done for every version. I've never seen one this centered around the story. So yeah, based on your experience in the game so far, do you have any feedback or suggestions? The 2.8 story, in my opinion, seemed extremely rushed plot-wise and unfinished in the writer room with a lot of plot holes, unexplained plot progression, the tower in Honami City and how we teleport there, and missed context, especially between Chisa and Sumika. This, combined with the limited exploration that we have in Honami City, where the incredible visual design makes you think it's a waste that it isn't fully explorable, and the shortened duration of this patch, it seems like this patch wasn't fully cooked, but needed to go live just to get ready for 3.0's release on Christmas. I think this version overall isn't awful. It's a solid 6, 7, 8 out of 10, depending on how you feel about the story. But there's definitely an opportunity in the future to make patches like this 9s or 10s. Because the main issue I have with this version is the missed potential. That's what I'm upset about when it comes to 2.8. Because I see the vision that was there for 2.8, and I feel like there was so much more that could have been done with the story. And one of my favorite things, right, was this idea, and I'll just list it out for you over here. The idea that Rover and Chisa actually both get stuck at the same time. You meet Dark Chisa, you get stuck at the same time, and 20 years actually does pass in the real world. And then you come back to a future that's destroyed by the lament. And then Chisa, because she can cut through dimensions and shit, right? Cuts through time and then sends us back to the start. And then we know everything, right? We know how to get out, and then we fix the issue that way. That would have, in my opinion, been so much more of an interesting story. So much more of like a gripping tale. And then that relationship that Rover has with Chisa, where you only spend like 36 hours with her. Just so you know, that's how long you spend with her, and she develops that level of a bond with you. It's not realistic. It doesn't really make much sense. It's possibly the shortest amount of time we spent with any character in the game. Literally 1 day, 2 days, 1 night, and we're out. And then she's all like, remember the days when we were exploring Honami City? Like, it wasn't yesterday. Remember the days when we would go out with Nami Pond? That was yesterday. And it's stuff like that. I can clearly see there was a bigger vision. There was a bigger vision for the story. The dialogue doesn't make sense, given that they've only spent 36 hours together. Part 2 makes no sense, assuming they spent only 36 hours together. But if you knew they spent 2 months together, just put that fake context in. They actually spent 2 months trapped in Honami City. How does part 2 look now? Everything in part 2 makes way more sense, especially that line. Remember back to those days in Honami City when we were trying to solve the disaster? That was 2 days ago, you dipshit. Anyways, those are my main complaints. And hopefully looking back on it and realizing, right? Realizing that this is the first survey in the history of the game that has focused this much on the story. Perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, you can come to the realization that you are probably the silent majority actually didn't like this quest. And like I'll mention before, I think there's a reason why the Wuthering Waves 2.8 story on YouTube has the worst views out of like every 2.x story. It literally has the worst views out of every story in the game. The worst. And it's also the only story that has gotten this much feedback, or has been asking for this much feedback. I'm going to assume that the story has a problem, and they're looking to find out what it is. And if you disagree with that, then I guess you're just choosing not to see the facts. that will be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like Kuro Games knows exactly what type of topic needs to be discussed in these surveys. And I guess it turns out people are liking pretty much everything in 2.8, and the only real issue is maybe the lack of mini games for the casual players, and I guess the story for the average player. So yeah, let me know what you all thought. I'll just take Kuro's word for it. And well, yeah, we'll click that submit button. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. And yeah, make sure you get your shell credits and Morphable Icos too. Peace out, everyone.